Good evening, everybody, and welcome on in. It is halfway through the season, and boy, does things need to get sorted out in some regards. Well, we have an exciting Drivers' Championship, but Pam needs to continue doing what he needs to do. He's, of course, taken 3 wins coming into tonight, but we'll, of course, update you on the standings. Tonight is Shanghai, and then afterwards, we are taking a week break, and then we'll be right back for the second half of the season. Now, in the driver's standings, Pam leading the way by 28 points. So this is a very important round for Foxy, as John Liu is there with 30 points, only 2 points behind. Kindle 0 and Umbi round out your top 5 with Steve, Marito, Jackie, Spindler, and Ronaldo round out your top 10. And then from 11th to 20th, it is Ronaldo, Gabri Twins, Ninja, Vormanodor, Francesco, Chirolo, Gutoz, Kai, Steve, Scambro, beg your pardon, John Liu Alex, and Pinolo. In your Constructors' Championship, Williams lead the way by 8 points to McLaren in second. Then it's Alpine, Ferrari, and Sauber rounding out your top 5 with 6th to 10th being Haas, Red Bull Racing, Aston Martin, Racing Bulls, and with no points still, and a bit of a surprise, I would say, just considering the team with its constant track record, dead last with 0. Your sponsors coming in tonight that keep TF1eSports afloat: Roccia Riccardo, Gled Creazioni, Meta Incisioni, of course, Roccia Riccardo, a personal body trainer, Gled Creazioni, lots of arts and crafts, and Meta Incisioni actually does a lot of engravings with several materials such as glass, wood, and metal. So go check those out. They're all on Instagram. And of course, Roccia Riccardo is also on Facebook. And thank you to all 3 of our sponsors for their kindness and generosity coming into the season for TF1eSports. With the fares out on track, we are just starting the first flying laps of this 18-minute session here in Shanghai at a length of 5.4 kilometers or so, translates to around about 3.8 miles. 16 turns, and with a race lap record with a 1:32.238 from Michael Schumacher back in the F2004. I do believe that has been beaten, though, but I will, of course, check that before we go into the race tonight. But this was first opened on the 6th of June, 2004, and has hosted the Chinese Grand Prix up until 2019, where it, of course, had a very big break, thanks to a certain cough that was going around and about. And, well, apart from that, has just been the permanent home of the Chinese Grand Prix. And, obviously, it's actually got a little bit of a unique reward. So, let me just try to get this out. It had, let's see, I don't have a note of it, but there's some sort of award it's got. And I've not actually made a note of it on here. Let's see. Yeah, of course. So, it has shops, outside of, like, it has shops, restaurants, and entertainment outside of its racing, and I do believe that qualified it for an FIA award, and I will try and find out what that is before we get into the race tonight, because it's certainly a handful. It sort of shares it with the Institute of Excellence here with Bahrain, and I do believe it's worded a bit differently though, but I know that it's a very popular tourist attraction, even out, as you said, outside of racing, with you know, the Chinese people and with tourists alike. John Liu Alex will be the first to set a qualifying time tonight. He's going to be hoping for better than back of the grid. 17th place he was. So we have 17 drivers tonight also, same as last week. So the numbers going from strength to strength here in TF1. Pre-season, I think we had just in the low 10s, but the numbers obviously have increased to 1:32.4. It's, oh, goodness me, a Saiju there nearly going into the back of him. Of course, Saiju did not have a good time last week. Very much rage quitted after, I think it was about 8 or 9 laps, and had so much contact with drivers around him, he just decided he had enough. He was encouraged as, well, just before I continue any further, John Liu Alex. I think I can tell who's had what. Ninja has got into the back of his teammate, so he's broken rule number 1 of motorsport. Don't hit your teammate. It's usually a good rule to follow, but unfortunately the V-Carbs struggling with that one a little bit, as we've just had a driver set a time as well. That went to Chirolo. He set to 1:35.6, but a bunch of times flying in already, and now we're just currently on board with Kai, who qualified 11th last week, but could not really go any further. He actually lost 4 positions in the race and finished in 15th. So Sky with a bit of work to do, hoping to get another good result in qualifying for his own sake, but hoping for better. He's currently 8th place as he sets his first flying lap, but that's 2.5 seconds down the road. And, well, Pam here has just set a time up in 5th place. Of course, did not even find the podium. No, he did find 3rd place last week, but that meant his winning streak was brought to an end. Of course, 3 in a row into the race. As Captain Foxy also hoping to get some points here as well. He begins tonight 28 points behind, and it is oh so important for him to try and score the maximum 16 points on offer for a win, and a Pam to have a not so optimal evening tonight. Is one of the drivers currently on a flying lap, trying to get something on the board in this first flying laps early on in qualifying. Last week, 7th position, and it finished 4th there. So it does have the pace and could be on for a podium maybe this week. We'll see what happens though, but definitely has pace. He's been showing that throughout the season. Let's see what this fly is going to be. That is going to be 3rd place for the Alpine driver. That pips Captain Foxy. So now both Alpines locking out 2nd and 3rd in this early qualifying session, but times still to come, one of them being Luigi'd. We now have 18 drivers in the session, so someone has just joined. I didn't see who that was, so I do apologize. But at the moment, let's keep an eye on Luigi'd here as we go through turns 12 and 13 here. Of course, the long banked right-hander reminds me a bit of a NASCAR corner. I was actually commentating this track on another league last night over on my own personal Twitch channel, and it just always reminds me of a banked corner. It's just the cars really can't go side by side through here because the entry of the corner is so narrow. It just widens out as it goes from turn 12 to turn 13. It just makes me remind me of that just a little bit. And well, we'll just bring a bit of affairs back to Formula 1. We're about to see the Haas driver here. His teammate currently still in the pits. That's Marito, but Luigi there setting a good time there in the Haas, and that was 3rd place for a 1:32.6. A few drivers still to come as well. Kindle Zero will be the next across the line. Let's go on board with the winner from last week. It was Silverstone. There we go, got there eventually. So Pam still wasn't able to claim his win in the British Grand Prix, like he did in the preseason. Of course, last week's track was the preseason race, but at the moment now, let's have a look at Kindle Zero. Was a bit low on the revs there as he went through turns 9 and 10, and here into 11. It's going to be, it's about as I expected. 3rd gear, but low on the revs again. I actually saw one of the drivers here skipping through the gears a little bit at low revs, and they were in a kick Sauber, and that just helped the rear end not snap out just through the banked corner. And I think that's probably a technique drivers can try to utilize tonight, if anybody will do so. I think Steve will be looking for one. I actually got a bit of a personal message from Steve the other week, and he was just thanking me for acknowledging his drive in Canada, and I, of course, thank him as well for taking the time to send that message. It was really kind of him to do so. But Kindle Zero to the line. That's pole position for the time being. We still have a long way to go and some track evolutions come. Steve here also is going to set a marker on the board. Can you believe we've already halfway through the session? Of course, the 18-minute countdown began nearly 8.5 minutes ago. As now Steve to the line. That is 11th place for the time being last week. Just to kind of look at my notes here, if I can find him. 13th place was his qualifying in the end. And, well, he's 2 places higher so far. And more time to come from the Kick Sauber, I am certain. Few drivers on an out lap right now, with John Liu being one of them. John Liu, well, had a little bit of a good result, actually. 2nd place last week in the race, but 4th in qualifying, so he's not really being too, well, he's not too inconsistent. He's been consistent with his results. Would just probably love a win here and there, potentially. But let's see what he can do in China tonight. Of course, I was actually lucky enough to commentate over Captain Foxy last night, and he, well, I do need to say that he actually made a one-stop work, and I imagine some drivers here are also going to try that, and we'll see what happens. But John Liu coming from his outlap now, and he'll be hoping for better than 3rd, or at least an improvement on his personal best. Needs to find 2/10 for pole position, which Kindle Zero set that time just a minute ago. But now going through turns 1 and 2, let's see an entire lap here of the Chinese circuit. We've just gone through turn 1. We are now going through turn 3. Now this is going to be turn 4 here. That small left-handed kink. Now the right-hander of 5. on board with the Alpine. Of course, that's a 10th.5 improvement, so that's good enough for second place as of right now. Currently, the Ferrari in the pits of Sergio, of course, who was in the Mercedes last week, got involved in a couple of battles. We'll be hoping for better racing etiquette this week, especially with the drivers around him. Down to 4th gear, though, is John Liu, and now through 9 and 10, and he is looking really good through here. I gotta say, he uses all of turn 9 to get the maximum entry and exit through turn 10, and now short burst through here, and that is 3.5 tenths up. Remember, the delta on the top right compares to the driver's personal best, not the overall session best. So currently doing the math, he is beating both Kindle Zero and Saiju to pole, but of course, there are other drivers around him that are also going to be taking advantage of the track evolution, where the track begins to rubber in as the session continues to go on, and still with 7.5 minutes to go, just under. There is a long way, but now we have broke all the way down to 2nd gear for the hairpin of 14. That small right-handed king of 15 on the exit. Here's a corner name. Now it's 16. This medium speed left-hander take it in 5th gear. Now go to the line. It's only 2nd place, despite him beating the average on on his personal best there by far and away. It wasn't good enough in Sector 3, so I just wonder where he would have lost the time. That's very interesting now. I wonder if Kindle Zero has a way of attacking the hairpin that the other drivers simply don't. That's an interesting one there. Unless if there's something in the timing that I'm just not understanding. But regardless, though, we're now looking at his teammate Umbi, who, like we said earlier on, qualified in 7th last week, but is currently one position above that. As we see your polystyrene board being broken to bits there in the background. And that will be to do with one of the Racing Bulls there. Of course, the Racing Bulls have already made contact in qualifying. Little Ninja there having to come in to repair his front wing. And I do believe one of them has a 5-place grid penalty as well. I saw it, but I forgot to actually verbally say it out loud. There was a lot happening at the time. Well, there was a few things happening at the time, so give me some credit. 1.5 tenths there in Sector 2 for the Alpine driver. And let's see what he can do here in Sector 3. One last sector to go. Can he find some more positions? The Vince has come across the line. Bit of news, actually, in terms of the driver market. Francesco is no longer here as a permanent driver. That honour now goes to the Vince, who raced in the Red Bull last week, but now has found himself with a permanent seat here in the Aston Martin team, the British-based team, of course. And, well, Francesco is now going to be a reserve, so he's just going to race when he is needed. And that's currently the position Saiju also finds himself in, as Umbi goes to the line there. 6th place. And you know what? Usually you would say that's going to probably be a separation of about half a second, but that's only just over 3 tenths at the moment. That is a really good time. That's a really good competitive time, but there are just drivers around him that are just a few tenths faster. And that's really all the difference is, and that's just going to be crucial between 3rd or 6th place, or even pole position, if you will. Luigi here, down on his personal best in Sector 2, 1400ths. Let's see what he can do into turn number 14. He goes braking hard here for the right-handed hairpin. The Haas driver currently beating his teammate Marito, hoping for a result here. Wasn't with us last week, but hopefully that little bit of a break will have refreshed his mind and maybe given him some pace. And that is just under 1.5 tenths improvement. That takes him up into 5th place. Demoting Umbi down into 6th place. And so let's just see what other drivers around are doing. Little Ninja at the moment, 1 second down, so he's not going to be going anywhere. Jackie into the pits. And you know what? The sky's a bit grey here in Shanghai. I just wondered then if we're going to be seeing some rain anytime soon. Also, just a bit of an update for you. Kindle Zero on an outlap with 4 minutes to go. Now, luckily, if rain is to come, we would still at least get one final flying lap in, as a Pam now really not on the pace at all. Currently down in 9th place. Last week managed, let's see, I'm just having a look now, 2nd place in qualifying. Where has the pace gone? 1.1 seconds. Maybe China is not a circuit that suits him very well, of course. Like, you know, I mean, I don't know. There shouldn't be really much of a difference between the pace of a Pam. Not this drastically. But evidently something in China seems to be hurting him a little bit. Let's see. Maybe he's just ill or just having some technical issues. But either way, Pam, for his own sake, will be hoping for better than 9th place. Currently going into this as your championship leader. And if Foxy can take advantage of this, or maybe even John Luca as well in 2nd place, currently in qualifying, both, and Kindle Zero as well. Kindle Zero has shown good pace. He's in with the championship as well. But, like, you know, if a Pam is to have a bad weekend tonight, the maximum point scoring you get for a win is 16 points. So, for example, let's just take the position on the standings so far. So that would mean for Luca, he would get 48 points. That would be a 12-point deficit. If it was to go to John Luca, that would then become a 14-point deficit. And for Kindle Zero, that becomes a 16-point deficit. So basically, everybody from 2nd to 4th is separated by 2 points. But look at that. A Pam goes to the top of the timing boards. But will that be enough? Because Track Evolution, of course, is something he will need to consider. 2.5 minutes to go. He does have time for one final flying lap, but whether he takes it or not is another matter. This will be Kindle Zero's final lap as well, with the time that he will have. He will have this lap, and then he would need another lap to recharge and cool down the tyres. There is just simply not enough time to get around the track for a second flyer. So here we go. John Lu as well behind starts his final flying lap. That's just Chirolo, but is Chirolo further around the track? He most certainly is. He's just going through turns 9 and 10 now, just ahead of the 3rd placed Alpine and the 2nd placed McLaren in this qualifying. And he's actually nearly found half a second on his personal best through Sector 2. But now going through and starting Sector 3, he's just going to approach one of 2 DRS zones, of course. Technically, this is considered the first if you think about where the DRS zones start, but usually we say the first one down the start-finish straight would be the first of the 2 DRS zones. So, of course, one down one of the longest straights in Formula 1, and then, of course, the other one down that start-finish straight. But it's not easy to overtake, so really the only real overtaking opportunity, unless you have a tyre advantage, is really down into turn 14. But Chirolo to the line, and that is going to be 15th place for the time being. John Luca will be next. DRS has been activated here as he goes down the start-finish straight. No, sorry, not the start-finish straight, the straight line between 13 and 14. And now making the right-hander. And he goes a bit wider there, so I wonder if he was trying to set himself up for a better exit. Now, there is one car in front of him, but it shouldn't really impede the Alpine. Might be a bit of dirty air regardless, but John Lu to the line stays 3rd place. Disappointment for the Alpine driver as Kindle Zero is off and away there. So he is on 1 lap old soft tyres. So I wonder if he was on a flyer then and had a bit of a mistake. But either way, Saiju is also on a flyer. Lots to look around at as now, well, Captain Foxy is also up. A Pam into the pits. Knew he couldn't set another flyer, but all pressure on him now because he hasn't taken advantage of the track evolution. He would have been one of the last cars to set a time, but a Pam not thinking about that, evidently. Scanbro has just not bothered to set a time at all. He does not have any time. One of the drivers there just getting to the line, but everybody on a flying lap. Kai will be first to the line. No improvement for him as Captain Foxy made a mistake through 14. He'll be next with a Ferrari. That looks to be Saiju or Jackie just behind him. We'll check in a few moments for Foxy. Can't go any faster. He is currently going to 2nd place and is 2nd best to a Pam yet again. A Red Bull straight to the pits. There's now the McLaren of Kindle Zero coming to the line next. So the top 3 are going to be the first to set times within their own group, and that is still 3rd place. Next up is the Ferrari of Saiju, hoping for better than last week. He's pole! He beats the championship leader! And, well, who is next to cross the line? There'll be a kick Sauber. That's Steve. He goes up into 12th place. A Red Bull is next. That will be Guitars as well. John Lu won't finish his time, but Guitars beats his teammate, and that teammate battle is won in qualifying by Guitars for the Red Bull. Umbi can't improve either, and it's going to be, I think that's Spindler next to cross the line. It indeed is, but he's 1 second down on his personal best through Sector 2, so he won't finish that time. It should be Luigi or Marito next to cross the line, but it's going to be Marito, so we'll cut to his teammate in a few moments' time, and then it will be the Aston Martin not too long after. Marito to the line. What can he do? That is going to be no improvement at all. The Aston Martin won't finish the lap. Luigi will, though, but it's still 6th place. What about Kai? Is he on a fast lap? No, he is not. What about John Alex? No. So it is Saiju with pole position, the only driver to break into the 131s. And there he will start in pole position by just under 0.2 of a second ahead of a Pam. And Saiju here making a statement saying, if you're going to race me, you're going to have to be the very best. He's only a reserve, but if he could get a good result here, surely teams are going to want to snatch him up full time. One to look out for. Congratulations to the Romanian driver. He is on pole position. What a lap as well. To even find any difference at all in that field. Like, look at that. From, let's say, 8th to 2nd place. As it goes away from being right quite instantly. I'll look at that again one last time when we get the opportunity. I'll quickly run through the results between 1st through 18th, and then we can have a look at those time differences. But anyway, there we go. 1st to 10th, Saiju, Apam, Foxy, Kindle Zero, John Liu. Then it's Luigi, Vince, Umbi, Jackie, and Spindler. Then from 11th to 15th, Ninja, Steve, Marito, Kai, and Guitars. Then from 16th to 18th, Chirello, John Alex, and Scambro. But Scambro yet to set a time as John Alex actually got the 5th-place grid penalty there, as I think that is deserved. But Ninja did as well, so they both got it. But anyway, from 2nd to 8th, it is only 0.4 difference. Just under, not even, actually. It's just under 0.4 of a second. That is insane. That makes so much logic. This way, I have a shitty lap, and somehow... Oh, sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, that was a message I got in chat. Sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I really... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That is the first time I've ever swore on commentary, and I am very, very sorry for my language there. So have a crap lap, and somehow it's fast. I genuinely can't understand this game. Saiju, of course, continuing to not really know what to say. But yeah, there we go. So Saiju not happy with his lap, and but it turned out to be the fastest. I wouldn't be moaning all that much if I was him. If I was Saiju, I'd be very happy with that myself. There we go. Yeah, no, just getting a few messages there in Discord. Nothing to do with my language, which I'm very, very sorry for. I didn't mean to say that. But yeah, no, it was... Oops, sorry for that, lol. Adrenaline with wrong words. No, my fault. I should have filtered that out. That's my bad. I'm sorry for those that were offended by the language. That won't happen again. Otherwise, we're just waiting now to see when we are underway again. Of course, as I was saying before, I was actually going to look up a couple of things for you, and I may as well just do it right now for you, because I know that this circuit has gotten an award from the FIA, but I just don't know which one. And I would like to, let's see, helps if you type Shanghai correctly as well. Shanghai International Circuit. Right, let me see if I can find out, but if I can't, yeah, I can't. But yeah, so the lap record here, for the race lap record, that is, still held by Michael Schumacher, so that still stands. Now, could I... Aha! The circuit has a... including... No, that's not it. Darn it! I can't find what the circuit won way back when with the FIA, so... we'll just have to guess. We'll just have to guess what that was. I think it was a tourist award, I am sure. But I fortunately can't find what it was. So we'll just have to kind of guess from there. But otherwise, though, Shanghai is going to be it's going to be a bit of a challenging Grand Prix. Of course, one of the only overtaking zones realistically would be, I think, one going into turn 4 as well, because of the fact it's such a heavy braking zone after you come out. Sorry, turn 4? Turn 6, beg your pardon. Yeah, you know, you're going through, you're coming from turn 4, you go through turn 5, of course, flat, but then if you're in the slipstream and you're using your ERS correctly, you can sort of get alongside the car, and then try and make an overtake down into turn 4, turn 6 even. Turn 7 and 8, I mean, you could if you have the tyre advantage there, but then afterwards you'd probably be looking at around turn 12, maybe through turn 11 to turn 12. Can't do it through 12. You could try getting the exit for 13, but as the DRS activation point is actually in the middle of turn 12 as well. So that's one thing you can do as well. If you get ahead of them if you get ahead of your driver through turn 13, you can use the DRS to kind of pull away and then try at least have a comfortable gap going down the second DRS zone, which will be the start-finish straight. So that's just kind of some of the overtaking points here. But the strategy you'd really want to aim for, that is going to be very tricky because the tyre degradation is really horrible here, is you'd want to go for the one-stop. Now, I do believe medium to the hards would be the way to go, or vice versa, as it is on every single track in these half-distance Grand Prix, right? So that's kind of the strategy you'd be looking at. Start on medium, start on hards. If you want to go for the two-stop and try and risk it, you can start on the softs, but then again, even then, I'd probably start on a harder compound like the medium or the hard tyres still. It's kind of up to you, though, so we'll see what happens there, and we'll see how the strategies play out. Of course, we won't have a formation lap. We'll be straight into the race. And I think it's going to be about, I think it's usually 28 laps around here, as far as I know. I'll double check that actually in just a moment. Because if I find out the full distance Grand Prix laps, then I can sort of calculate it. I can just half it and take it from there. Let's see, F1 laps. Let's just take a quick look here. F1 laps. And it is, I don't know. I don't understand why that isn't one of the first results there. But anyway, we'll see. As, yeah, no, I'm just gonna get this away. Save choices, please. Yeah, so it's 53 laps. So I think we're looking at about... Let's see, no, that's fastest laps, beg your pardon. Oh, well, I think it's going to be about 28, 26 laps for a half-distance Grand Prix. And then we'll take it from there. We're still waiting for players, and I'm just trying to find out when we will be underway as well. And then, yeah, no, but it's going to be, I predict this to be a very, very, very exciting Grand Prix, to say the least. Let's just have a look, see if I've got one here. 20:36, so we've actually got another 2 minutes. You know what? Let's take a quick break. Let me pop on the synthwave for you, and we'll be back with you in probably just 1 minute to make sure we actually get there on time. Chat, don't go anywhere. There'll be a 26 to 28 lap Grand Prix coming your way. Welcome back. It is TF1eSports. It's round 6 of the first season here in Shanghai. I can confirm to you there will be 28 laps of racing to come your way. In fact, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. It's going Shanghai, and that is a good start there from Saiju, and there's a bunch of kerfuffling in the background there, but Saiju gets away well. The McLarens are going to go side by side, but Kindle Zero though, and there's contact between the McLarens. Rule 1 of motorsport, don't make contact with your teammate, and Kindle Zero ignores it, and Foxy is down to the fringes of the top 10 as there's more sorting out happening, but a pan there will be relieved, but Kindle Zero also, but work to be done in these first few laps. Oh my goodness me, what is going on there? 3 wide into turn 6 doesn't go ever, and somehow these guys try to have the Aston Martin, unhappy with the Ferrari, and Jackie nearly gets punted off into the grass as Stee is also making up a position, and there's also more battling here. Good pause, and there's contact between sister teammates. What is going on here in China as Scampro makes an audacious audacious attempt to go down the inside of turn 9, and the Mercedes of Kai has spun round. What is the RB doing? What was that kind of move? Into turn 11. What is this? Is this a new civil war in Formula 1? All the teams are fighting with one another. What is happening as Umbi is up into the podium places, but Captain Foxy, after contact with his teammate, has recovered. And is there going to be more contact between the McLarens? I have no clue. But they're now side by side, and Foxy will be cautious as he gets back up into 4th place and is now a man on a mission. And let's see what he can do. Of course, Kindle Zero will be right behind. Foxy will be aware of that contact that happened on lap 1, as Luigi, though, might be the crucial doorstop that Foxy needs to feel comfortable. Pan, though, is being left behind by Saiju. And we'll see what happens from there on out. But now Foxy on a mission as everybody else. Finally, we get a bit of breathing space, but now Scambro and Guitars are having a bit of a battle, and Scambro is on those soft tires, so the advantage will be through to him these first few laps. Let's just see, 2 drivers on the softs. That's why Chirolo is so high up, but their advantage will soon decimate because those soft tires do not go long at all. But look at this! Side by side and round the outside! Kindle Zero goes through on the Haas at turn 7. What a brave driver there! Despite contact earlier on with his teammate, he says, no one's stopping me tonight, and he gets through. What a move from the McLaren. And, well, Foxy again with his pressure are the no papaya rules here in TF1. It is all about every man for himself. Let's see what happens here, as Foxy should have the DRS comfortably as we go through turn 13 there, as we go down to 14, as now Umbi trying to think about a defense, but I think he knows that is just going to be fruitless. Foxy up into 3rd position there. And, well, Umbi fights back on that. He doesn't give up the position, but there's just enough width poor Foxy to fit through, so he's going to have the inside here into 16, but he isn't alongside enough, and he slots back in and has to wait for another fight as Saiju takes fastest up of the race. There's also another battle happening in the background here between the 2 sister teams. I'll try and cut back to the battle for 3rd in a moment, as now he's done that. Foxy looked for the inside there, but nowhere to go. Chirolo as well, fighting with Stee. Have those soft tires already fallen off? Judging by that understeer, I would say yes, because the King Sauber goes through into 9th position. And Spindler now is the one under pressure as John Lu... What? John Lu had major contact there on lap 1. I've only just seen him drop down the order for John Lu, who is fighting here, but now, well, he's looking at a Williams go down the inside of the Red Bull of Chirolo, and they're both off the track there, and John Lu has to make some room just in case if the Red Bull had a terrible rejoin or got it wrong on the accelerator, and now he's trying to get through on Spindler. He is desperate to make up some positions in these early laps of the Grand Prix, and can you blame him? Bit of contact between the Williams and the Alpine there, going through 9. And my goodness me, this battle will continue on into the next DRS zone as now Marito and Chirolo are side by side. And again, the Ninja there going down the inside, maybe where that isn't warranted. And now the Red Bull is going to try fighting back. As now John Lu is going to have DRS down this straight. You'll have a few of some battles at the front as well. As a Pam is just about caught up to Saiju there. 8/10 of a second. It's now Kindle Zero. Not again! More contact between the McLarens, and Foxy will be thinking, what is he doing? And every right to think so as well. That is twice now. They have made contact, and that would look to be a very optimistic dive from a few postcodes back. And now there we go. We've got another run here on the Haas there, who is up into 5th place again. And really, Kindle Zero there, an optimistic move that was always not really going to work out. And now, we're going to, well, finally, I think we might have a bit of calm here. As now, well, John Lu has also gotten through that little pack there, so he's on a recovery drive, and he's got Steve for company next. He's too far back to have a go here into 6. So he's going to set himself up for the next DRS zone, and he's going to really have to, but he's going to have Dirty Air through 7, 8, 9, and 10. And Moby 13 as well. All 3 of those corners I just mentioned, high downforce. Doesn't look to be really close enough to get any effect there. Might be a bit of a mild effect there coming from the car in front. But regardless, though, John Lu able to stay with it as checked out from the group behind. And now that, well, I thought that was Steve there, going to the inside there to defend the position. And then Captain Foxy here. Well, I say Captain Foxy, I'm a few steps ahead there in terms of that regard. I think Foxy is about to get the move done here for third place. As, well, look at that. A line of DRS has been just opened. Foxy to the inside of the Alpine there. We'll get that move done as the McLaren again trying down the inside there. But, oh, contact with Jackie there. And, well, some penalties have come through. Both the Vince and Jackie with 3-second penalties for ignoring track limits. So they have to serve those post-race. Can't be served in a pit stop. As now John Liu has finally made his way. Well, I say finally made his way, but Steve has remained there. Bit of contact between the two. And now there's more fighting as Umbi has fought back on Foxy, but Foxy is pushing him to the edge of the track. As, well, there we go. He kind of needs to do. Oh, there's contact between the McLaren and Foxy. And now that was certainly tight stuff. And it was certainly aggressive racing. I can't really tell you who was at fault, to be honest. I didn't really get the best view of that. But now, oh my goodness me, more contact. There's everybody playing. This is Wreckfest. This is an F125. This is just a game of Wreckfest at the moment. And it's certainly giving us a different kind of entertainment. It's certainly cinematic, to say the least. As now we see the Mercedes and the Racing Bulls go side by side. Scambro on the inside of John Llewellyn. And that is the Mercedes up to 15th for the time being, but not a point-scoring position either. And let's just see. Well, Foxy hasn't been able to get a comfortable lead ahead of this pack. These well, I'm going to have to count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are not really trying to let each other go. Or is it 6? I'm sorry. Probably about 5 or 6. Yeah, it's 6 cars. Sorry about that. As a Pan there, still not able to get within DRS range of Saiju. So Saiju having a good Grand Prix in his own right. But I think we're about to see Luigi make a move. And, well, I think the main worry for Foxy would be his teammate, ironically, of all things. But for now, his teammate, Kindle Zero, has tried the over-under on the Haas driver, but nowhere to go. And the Vins there looking like he was trying to get a move. As I thought that was John Luca at the back there. But Stee and Spindler are also having a bit of a battle. And now Morito's getting a bit involved. So the Williams losing a few positions as Luigi gets past. Now a big worry. These two have already made contact twice. And could this be about to get worse? And you know what? There we go. Kindle Zero not showing the McLaren any kindness at the moment. That's a bit of contact there. And there's more contact between them. Foxy will be getting enraged in that car because of the fact that's his teammate. I know he's going to be losing his composure at the moment. I wonder if Anno can give us any insights there as the Alpine tries to go down the inside as well through there. But there wasn't really any room. It was really a day late and $1 short, in all honesty. And now, through turns 7 and 8, we're finally going to see them compose. As how there is more overtaking Ninja through on Spindler there for 12th position. And we're only on lap 6 out of 28. So there's still a large portion of this Grand Prix to go. 23 laps as we speak right now. And, well, it's certainly interesting as now Kindle Zero is going side by side with the Ferrari again, for what I can tell. But at the moment, there's been so much battling, it's just hard to process everything at once here. And here we go again. This 6-car battle will resume. And you know what? Luigi has actually checked out from the pack. He is currently facing the back of. As Foxy goes to the inside, but then Umbi does the over-under. And, whoa, that was a bit on the edge there, if I say so myself. But then again, I can say that about every... Umbi there, not happy with Foxy, apparently, as they both go side by side and make contact again as Foxy forces the Alpine driver off the road. This is getting scrappy, and you might love it, but I can promise you now the drivers are going to be on edge and are bad-tempered as the Ferrari and the Aston Martin go side by side. I can promise you it gets heated than the McLarens again, side by side, through turn 3. Foxy loses composure, and that could have resulted in contact there. But now on the exit, who's going to have it better? It is going to be Kindle Zero on those hard tyres. I do not think a one-stop strategy is realistic in these kind of racing conditions. As now more contact, and Foxy is forced off the road. The Aston Martin says thank you very much. Despite the 3-second post-race penalty for both the Aston Martin and the Ferrari, Foxy loses out on a podium, and for his championship, this is going down the drain quickly. And John Luca behind as well has gained 2.5 seconds in all that battling. It was hard, it was aggressive, but it towed the line of fairness. Let's just be honest here. It was it's very tough racing in there. That would be more akin to a destruction derby. And I can imagine Foxy will have a few words for some of the drivers around him, especially, I mean, he wouldn't have wanted that with his teammate to begin with. I know there are no team orders in TF1, but there's still that dynamic there that you have to consider. And I don't think he'll be too happy as now Foxy is going to try and move on the Ferrari into 14 there in the background. Kindle Zero tried to do the same on the Alpine into the very same corner, but no dice there. So Foxy now at the back of this pack, and now has one of his championship rivals to think about. Of course, the driver behind him coming into tonight by 2 points as Ninja and Marito going side by side there, and Steve just trying to hold on to what is 10th place at the moment. Imagine a safety car coming into all of this. The two Mercedes swap at the back there, 17th and 18th, but I don't know, that's a battle. That doesn't mean a whole lot as how Umbi and Kindle Zero are going to go fighting. Are these two now going to get scrappy? This is just allowing Luigi to get away. So the top three look pretty safe and secure, and Saichu and Apam have just kind of been looking at all of this. Well, they won't have been looking, but they'll just have been in their own little battle. They're having a fastest lap battle. That is an engaging battle in its own little right. Apam on the edge of DRS there. They both have the same tyre, so it's about who can look after their tyres better in that regard. That is engaging in its own right, but we've had so much scrapping everywhere else. We've just not put our attention there, but those two having a great battle so far. They're having a great Grand Prix in their own little rights, and they've kept it clean and fair. But, like, you know, for the championship, we're now going to be looking at John Luca and Captain Foxy. Well, the two separated by 2 points, of course. Foxy ahead of John Luca, and I think that's probably after tonight, if things stay as they are, that's probably where his focus is going to have to shift. Of course, he, as a driver, any driver would be disappointed with that, as Apam was likely to outscore those two yet again. As I said, Luigi, my goodness me, Umpi, a day late, but $1 gained there through turn 14. I thought that was very optimistic. You just saw the Alpine pull out all of a sudden, and there's the Aston Martin going wide. And, well, I think Foxy's just trying to keep himself back as Steve there. Back into 10th. Well, I say back into 10th place. It looks like Ninja tried to have a go, but that Kick Sauber seems to have some mysterious straight line speed here in the Shanghai circuit. Let's see what he can do. Of course, one of the drivers when we came back to China, Guan Yu Zhou, of course, was driving a Kick Sauber at that very Grand Prix back. I think it was 2023. As now we are seeing our first pit stop here. That is Chirolo in the Red Bull after 7 laps on the softs. They've had enough. They are coming into the pits. Will Scambro do the same? In fact, yes, you can see it on the track map there. He has indeed done the same, and that is medium tyres for Chirolo. So that is a 2-stop there for the Red Bull. Let's see Scambro for the time being, as he's now just slowed down for the pit lane limiter. And let's see what he does, as Apam there has caught up to Saiju, and they're just going through turn 12 as we speak. So Apam with DRS there on the exit, but can Saiju hold off the Williams with this straight line speed? Let's have a quick look, as we are now on lap 9 out of 28, and we are believe it or not, 5 laps away from the halfway point of this Grand Prix. But Apam doesn't look to be close enough to Saiju to have a go into 14, unless he wants to try and Daniel Ricciardo it into here. He doesn't, but Saiju does have a bit of a lockup, senses that the pressure is there from the Williams, and we'll see how that goes. But anyway, there's now more battling as Umbi tries down the inside of Kindle Zero yet again into 14, and he gets through, does the Alpine driver, so that is him up into 4th for now. But that is not the only time they are going to be swapping positions, I would imagine, as we are now seeing the top 2 go into turn 1. At that moment, no one close enough in that top 5 battle to, well, I say top 5, top 8 battle, as John Liu has also caught up to the back of Captain Foxy there in 9th position. So a lot of gaps have come down. There's also battling happening outside this top 10 as well. Like, you know, you look at Ninja, Steve, Marito, as Marito and Steve looking to be going side by side, but weren't close enough to do so, as now Steve has found the inside of the Racing Bulls driver. Of course, Steve on the medium tyres. The two drivers battling with him are on the hard. So in reality, it should be the mediums that are the better tyre at this point of the stint. And, well, Steve just hanging on for dear life. In all reality, I thought the Haas was going to make a dive down there, just considering some of the behaviour we have seen tonight. It has been a rather it's been a lot of contact. It's been a contact affair, really, here in Shanghai so far. We've only had 10 laps of it, and it just feels like we've had an entire Grand Prix and a civil war rolled into one. Here we go. DRS is going to open, though, for a Pam. And is he going to be close enough to have a go at Sarju this time around? Gained about 3/10, but he's out the slipstream so far. So I think what that is he's looking after his engine temperatures. I think it's... I can't remember the exact temperature. I know it's in the hundreds. It's around 185, I think, degrees Celsius. And that's where you start to lose power on the engine. As now these two will go through turn 16 now. As now Umbi and Kindle Zero again do battle. And, well, who is going to come out? Spectre this time around. And McLaren has to give the room, but he goes off track. And so that might even give the Alpine just a bit of motivation to continue on. But these two both have DRS. There will be a difference in straight line speed for one of them. But it's going to the Alpine yet again. Holds on to 4th place for the time being. But they are right onto the back of Luigi now, as Captain Foxy and Gianluca have now pitted. And they are going to try and undercut the drivers ahead. Foxy and Gianluca both onto the hard tyre. They're going to come out alongside one another. And they are just a few tenths away, but Foxy will get the initial gap underway, as now Stee is also into the pits on those medium tyres. So here we go, hard tyres for them, and let's see where, well, we've got a few pit stops to find out where Captain Foxy and Gianluca will be once they have all concluded. But here we go again, a Pam right close to Sarju yet again, but it seems like Sarju gets the drive through 13 to keep the gap separated to where a Pam cannot have a go, or maybe a Pam is just holding back for the time being and just not allowing him to get involved and save his tyres, or get involved in the battle to save his tyres at the very end. So that is something he might be considering as well, but looks like he's following more closely to the slipstream this time around. He is not really using his battery, so he is just keeping a... He's just keeping himself, saving the battery, and you know what? That's a really good way of doing it, as Umbi now has overtaken Luigi, and Luigi is then overtaken by Kindle Zero. So there we go, Luigi down to 5th, as those medium tyres are surely just about shot. And I think some drivers will have to react there to Foxy and John Lou, but it's only the Haas driver so far that reacts into the pits. Very wide on the entry, though. And is anybody else following in? No, not in that group. So it is the Ferrari, the Aston Martin, the McLaren of Kindle Zero, and the Alpine of Umbi that continue on for the time being. So I think these two will be undercut by their respective teammates, although it does feel like it's been every man for himself instead of playing along with the team, which is no surprise there. Again, as I will reiterate, no team orders here in TF1 eSports. And in case you're joining us for the first time, all you've missed is a really, really chaotic Grand Prix, as Kai is facing the wrong way on the exit of 14. Spindler gets a 3-second penalty, the third drive to do so, for track limit violation. So that's 3 seconds added on to his post-race time. You cannot serve 3-second penalties in a pit stop, so must serve that to the end. But here we go. Pam is the closest he's ever been, and I just wonder if this is part of his pit stop strategy coming into play now. And I think he's just realizing he needs a gap on some of the drivers behind in order to be safe for the lead. But it looks like Saiju again gets that magical exit out of 12 and 13, and he is safe. That's over 6.5 tenths. Pam is not catching that. I don't think he's really using any battery down this straight either. And there you go. Yeah, I don't really see the battery there on his car going down that straight. So I think he knows the situation isn't all that desperate, as Kindle Zero and Umbi do battle here into 14 as well. This is for third place still. Do these drivers now react, as Ninja gets a 3-second penalty, fourth driver to do so this evening? I will just say as well, most drivers have done well to keep it clean, as now the Aston Martin and the Ferrari go side by side here, as Pam pits at last, so he's going to try and undercut Saiju, but we've got a yellow flag for one of the Mercedes. That is Kai again, who had a mistake last lap through turn 14 and 15. But he will continue on. No need for any intervention from race control, as Kindle Zero holds on to what will be... Oh, goodness me, I don't know where that will be. But at the moment, it is second place. But this is before any pit stops has happened, as John Liu has just set the fastest lap of the race of 1:36.310 for the Alpine. I thought Marita was about to have a go on a Pam here, but a Pam has got traffic on the exit on the pit lane, and this is not what he would have wanted. Will Ninja fight that championship leader any harder than he has to? Well, a Pam wasn't close enough to have a go through here, but this is only going to hurt the Williams driver. He needs to try and make a move ASAP, or else his fourth win of the season is in doubt, and he's going to be very brave through turn 7, but it can't work there. He had 2 wheels on the grass, and I saw what happens when you do that last night and you just put pedal to the metal. It rarely works out. So this is advantage Saiju. He needs to pit this lap so that he can take advantage of what Ninja is doing for him. Probably not on purpose. These two are not in cahoots with one another, I promise you that. But this is hurting Pam the longer he stays behind him, as the Vins now is up into 3rd, as Kindle Zero has checked out from that group. But now we need to keep an eye on Pam. Is he finally getting ready to make the move? He most certainly is. He will have DRS, but it's not fast enough on the straight to initially get that done. We'll need the DRS zone here, but how hard does Ninja fight this? Very hard, I would have to say. They're going to go side by side here. Has Pam got through? Yes, he has, but it has... And he's, Saiju is in the pit lane now. I think he has heard what's happened on commentary. He is on fresher tyres, but look at this. It is going to be oh so close. Pam down the straight. Saiju on the exit. Here we go. You see both cars in your frame. Who is going to be ahead? Saiju needs a couple of corners to get these tyres up to temperature. Saiju, I think, has done it. Saiju, with that, with the battle, with Ninja. Pam loses out on the battle, but he's only 8 tenths behind, so he can try and hang on for the DRS. But there's Foxy as well. There is Ninja and John Lou fighting behind those 3. John Lou forced off the track. Can he get through Ninja? He's going to have to try what Pam couldn't do last lap, and he can't do it, as now there is so much happening at once. I can't really see what's going on with Luigi there. There we go, that's Luigi, who of course will have pitted. Couple of laps to go. Only 1 lap fresher tyres, but this is now the halfway point of the Grand Prix, if you can believe that. The theoretical lead is about to happen on this lap. Kindle Zero needs to pit as soon as possible now. He's just losing time as Zombie, and Jackie and the Vins are having a little battle here for second. Jackie with another 3-second penalty. That's his second, but now Foxy is up into theoretical 3rd place, depending on where his teammate can come out. This is an amazing Grand Prix, as Luigi and John Lou are now fighting one another for one of the positions in the top 5. Contact between the two. 10-second penalty, as now Luigi is getting overtaken by a couple of cars here. And does the Racing Bulls come into the pits? No. But here we go. Now we are seeing as Kindle Zero, yep, as I expected, losing a ton of time on his pit strategy. Pam couldn't make it through. But here we go. Just to give you a bit of backstory as well, Saiju and Luca, good friends off the racetrack. Just to let you know, I know both of them personally. And, well, this is certainly going to be an interesting fight, but we have the championship leader of Pam between the two. And Foxy, you've got to say, has driven an absolutely fine race so far to get himself back into this, despite all the contact around him going down to 8th place in a matter of moments. Thanks to just things happening around him, is now looking at a podium finish after his teammate Kindle Zero all the way down to 10th place there. Things have just swapped so quickly. And I'll be your temporary leader for this Grand Prix so far. But you are looking at the top 3 here once that pit stop is completed. Does Foxy have the pace to keep up with a Pam, though? That will be a question on everybody's mind, as now Kindle Zero and Marito swap positions. 9th place there for the other McLaren driver. But will that be a couple of more once the Aston Martin and the Alpine come in? Whenever that will be. I am not sure, though, as, well, here we go again. Is a Pam close enough to have a go? As always, not close enough, as Foxy now has lost out several tenths there and is outside of DRS range, maybe down the start-finish straight. Can he just gain that crucial 10th on the exit of 12? He hasn't, so he's not going to have DRS going through. Going on to the next lap, which will be lap 17, but a Pam does have DRS. Saiju trying to break the slipstream by going left and right, but not good enough. A Pam here will be in a further advantage than the car behind. But of course, if these two start scrapping, Foxy will be back in this fight. I can promise you that. I promise you as well, Saiju and Luca not working together in any way, shape or form. That gap should also be obvious to you. It's currently at about 2 seconds to the leader, because if you add up the gap to Pam to Saiju, and then, of course, to Foxy, he's about 2 seconds away, and that gap is increasing corner by corner, to be honest with you. So what he would want for these two is to start battling, but here we go again as Ninja and Jackie go fighting, but of course Ninja has not made his pit stop. Jackie has, of course, 10 seconds on top of his 2 track limit penalties. So a total of 16 seconds at the moment that will be served post-race. He would want a safety car just to get those 10 seconds out the way, but here we go. A Pam yet again at a very familiar stage of this DRS. Oh, the bump there on the exit. There is an invisible bump, which 9 times out of 10, if you take it, it doesn't send you off. But for Foxy, he's looking at his teammate again, and these two have just not been best of friends tonight, and Foxy will be doubly frustrated, and that's the desperate overtaking maneuver, but wasn't as desperate as I thought, because he's back through into 4th place, but the Haas gets the better exit for a few moments, but then he will hold that for now as Saiju takes the fastest lap of the race for a brief few moments. Didn't quite catch what it was, so we can, well, I'll take a quick look in a few moments' time as now Ninja finally makes his first pit stop, and should be his only one rather comfortably. After 15 laps on those hards, he will have the fresher tyres to go to the end of this Grand Prix, that is for certain. But Foxy will be very, very annoyed about that, I can tell you that for free. So he is now fighting with John Luca for 3rd place. He's got 2.6 seconds to make up, and it's not impossible. But now the other McLaren and the Haas are going to go side by side with one another. That is down the outside of turn 6. Very rarely works out well, but Kindle Zero did not have his car alongside. But let's have a look at a Pam. Again, he's the closest he's been, but he's never quite able to carry the momentum going through the final couple of corners as we see another swap between the 2 Mercedes at the back there. But Kindle Zero down the inside of turn 9. What a move! Again, turn 9 seems to be a good corner for the other McLaren. And, well, that's working out, and he's going to be looking at his teammate for DRS again. A bit of a moment through turn 11 for Kindle Zero. Doesn't matter, though. He was underneath a second to his teammate in front. Pam again with DRS, but not close enough to have a go at Saiju. At 9/10 of a second down that straight. You're not going to really pull the wool over Saiju's eyes on that one. But the McLaren's not close enough to fight one another, but that battle is oh so close. Let's see what happens as now, through 16, it's Kindle Zero going to have another go. Remember, these two made contact here on lap 1 through turn 1. Umbi takes fastest lap of the race from 8th place there. He's actually only 1.1 seconds away from the battle we are observing right now, with only Jackie providing a doorstop between the two, and Luigi as well. So 2 doorstops between the McLaren teams. And I was going to say, will they work together? That's been a hell no so far, and I think that's only going to continue. 11 laps to go of this Grand Prix. Pam proving he can get close, but only through the corners. But once they get down to the straights, it's just not possible. But Pam is actually suspiciously close. Can he actually get alongside Saiju here as he goes through turns 9 and 10? No, but he'll have the over-under. Might get a slightly better exit than the Ferrari. But also, one thing that'll be worrying Captain Foxy is Kindle Zero there. Battle for 4th place. So there's battles happening up and down the field. But Foxy losing time to his championship rival there. Now 3.1 seconds. I just wonder if Captain Foxy's just having some confidence issues. But his race engineer, Aaron Cass, will be very close. Will be close to him. Just saying, hey, just keep a cool head. And just keep everything pointing in the right direction, and something may happen towards the end of this Grand Prix. But now, Foxy has a rather large papaya in his mirrors. It's his teammate, Kindle Zero, and that is a rather clean move for what feels like quite a while. But let's have a look. Does Captain Foxy fight that back? No, he does not, but the Ferrari tries to get alongside the Haas there. Jackie down the inside of Luigi gets the move done with a bit of contact as afters, but nothing too egregious there, but lots of contact as both the Haas and the Alpine go very wide there on the exit of turn 16. And now Foxy with DRS trying to stay with his teammate here and try and potentially make another move. Unable to do so. So that is, for the time being, going to settle itself down. As now Umbi is going to get right on the rear diffuser of the Haas car in front. But not going to be close enough to have a go yet again. But whoa, and then as soon as I say that, contact between the two, and that was a rather forced overtake there from Umbi that he didn't really need to do. I mean, he is on the fresher tyres, so that doesn't mean you have to bump the car forward out the way. And that's what it looked like there. But Kindle Zero has left his teammate behind. Foxy unable to stay with the other Papaya car, as there's been a McLaren have a mistake there at turn 13. Lots of chaos at the moment, and here we go through turn 30, through a very familiar section, and Pam again is looking at the back of the Ferrari, but this time again with nothing there. Is he even using any of that battery, I wonder, or he's just using it at different points? Would be something I'd want to kind of look at more closely. But Foxy here with no pace tonight is behind both of his championship rivals. He is suffering at the moment tonight. John Liu, though, let's give credit where credit is due first and foremost before we look at any negatives and positives. Now, well, as soon as I say that, Jackie and Foxy going side by side there at 14 and 15. Foxy wins out for now, but that Ferrari is going to be oh so close to the back of the McLaren. As there we go, there's Umbi through, and now he's looking at the outside. He's on the grass. How on earth have they stayed pointing in the right direction? Rather aggressive driving from Umbi there. But at the moment now, Foxy is going to be under pressure as the outside will become the inside for the Alpine. And Umbi through into 5th place there, just hanging it round maybe where it wasn't warranted initially. And he really braved it on the grass. That is some pure driving instincts there, and hoping that the F1 car would just be a rally car for 2 seconds. He gets the move done, and you can probably see the frustration there as Foxy cuts the corner. And I think, yeah, there is going to be a few butting of heads at the end of this. I can tell you that for free. But here we go. Pam, is he finally close enough to have a go? No. I think Saiju is deploying more battery at this point of the track than Pam. But now he's got, well, the Ferrari may have a bit of DRS here, potentially, from the Mercedes in front. And he's going to use the slipstream, but didn't realize then the cars would be ghosted. Does he have DRS? No, that goes to Pam. But, again, Saiju has increased that gap. And Pam just left scratching his head. 0.4 of a second. Not close enough to have a go at all. Now let's see what's happening back here. These few cars always giving us some entertainment as the Vins now gets past Jackie. That is 7th place for the Aston Martin driver. 3-second post-race penalty coming the Aston Martin's way for track limit violations. But at the moment, it's going well for the Aston Martin. Well, I say it's going well. He's currently where he qualified, 7th place, and now he's looking at Captain Foxy, who's just fallen up from the order ever since putting on those hards, really. He's not kept up, and don't forget, he also had that mysterious bump on the exit of turn 13 there, which just sent him for a spin, and I kind of knew once we saw his car look like he was visiting his alien overlords. But I'm sure he personally welcomes, so I'm sure he would have enjoyed that. But either way, we're now looking at this, and there's the Vins there! Desperate on the brakes, goes into the back of Foxy. And that's not the only contact. He's going to feel bullied by the entire field by the end of this. I can tell you that for free. I would say a few words here, which I'll not say for broadcast, but I will avoid those just because we do have... I think we are a family-friendly league here, but at the moment, a lot of the cars not treating each other like a family-friendly. It's certainly an interesting relationship there between everybody, as Pam has made a mistake there. So it looks like... It just looked like something may have happened for Pam, and now Saiju... Well, this is his race to lose now. He is 2.3 seconds ahead. And Pam, well, has had to give up the ghost for the time being. 2.3 seconds with 8 laps to go. It'll be 6-7 at the line, beg your pardon, as Foxy has been overtaken again. And no DRS either, so Jackie might be willing to have a go at the McLaren. He goes down the inside. Foxy's a bit... Oh, there's a bit of contact, and Foxy's forced wide. There, but although there was a lot of contact there, and Luigi'd now threw in a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. It's going from bad to worse in this second stint here for the McLaren driver, and now he is looking at scraping some points. John Liu and Pam will benefit from this massively. Pam being the most consistent, he won't take the win today, but he will be the winner for this week's championship battle, as that will rage on in 2 weeks' time. Next week will be a break, and of course daylight savings will take effect in the UK. We will go from British summertime to Greenwich Mean Time, GMT, as now Marito and Steve were on the outside. Well, goes Marito on the Kickstarter car. That is 10th place there, but now Captain Foxy looking at the fringes of the points with a 3-second post-race penalty to serve. Now, luckily, he won't be under pressure from anybody else, but of course, not looking good. But John Luca now under pressure from Kindle Zero. John Luca really going to benefit from this massively. What a drive it has been from the Alpine. But Kindle Zero, Foxy's teammate, benefiting better from this apparently. I don't know if Anno's in chat can give us some insight as to what's going on here, why the pace has dropped off so badly. But at the moment now, Kindle Zero, it will focus on him for the time being. DRS opening in the slipstream to the right-hand side of the track. Goes the McLaren. That is 3rd place. And can Kindle Zero put some pressure on 2nd place to Pam before the end of this race? Just to give you an idea, Kindle 4th place, 2 points behind John Liu. So has actually gotten himself a crucial leg up on the Alpine behind him. But will John Liu try and fight this back potentially? No, it just wasn't quite close enough. That is 2 tenths there going into the first corner and wasn't really close enough to look at the inside line. So at the moment now, Kindle Zero are hoping to bring that gap down to a Pam. That's going to be about 7 seconds in 6 laps. He's going to have to hope that a Pam gets a 3-second penalty just to make his life a little bit easier. But with the consistency the Williams driver has shown, I just don't see that happening in all honesty. So I think this is about where things are going to finish. Of course, there are still some battles happening. There is a close one between Luigi's and Jackie, but do remember, Jackie does have a 16-second post-race penalty to serve before the end of this Grand Prix, and Foxy will be doing the rain dance in his cockpit. You might just want to remember, cast your minds back to round 1. He almost beat a Pam to the line, but it was 5.3 seconds and a 6-second track limits violation cost him that win. And he's been oh so close for the past few weeks, but this week he just feels like he has been a stop too far, and a Pam has continued to run away, and John Liu as well, and Kindle Zero will continue to benefit from his downfall. But either way, a Pam is getting closer to the battle for the lead. That is between himself and Saiju. 1.6 seconds. Pam did have to drop back a little bit a few laps ago to control the heat in his tires and his engine. But now I think he is ready to try and get the pace back and try and bring the gap down again, as there's another stop coming in from Jackie. So these medium tires on Jackie won't go to the end, and that could be the same for Umbi and the Vins and Kindle Zero. So are we going to see a 2-stop again? We're going to see a 2-stop here. Well. So Jackie will serve his 10-second penalty, and maybe that's the real reason why he stopped. You never know. That could actually be what's going on. He goes on to another set of mediums. Yeah, he's just getting rid of his 10-second penalty. He doesn't want it hanging over his head at the end of this. So he'd rather get it out the way and just sacrifice the points and hope that his teammate can bring it home for the Tifosi team. But, well, he's got a bit of work to do, because with 5 laps to go, a Pam is bringing down the gap again. Saiji with another lockup into there, but I just think that's a quirk of the video game handling rather than a genuine driver mistake. So here we go again. DRS zone, and a Pam is 1.4 seconds behind. Of course, no rear ring opening because he wasn't underneath a second to the Ferrari when they went to the detection zone, which is just in the middle of turn 12 there. But yeah, let's have a look at this. So Luigi's here is close enough to have a go on the Aston Martin. In fact, the Aston Martin goes all the way to the right-hand side of the track. DRS open for the Haas. You can see that rear wing opening, but he's not close enough to have a go. I thought he was going to try and make a late maneuver to turn 14, but no dice there for the American car so far. And I was just saying that a Pam was catching up, but now that it's kind of gone through onto lap 25, it looks like a Pam has not been able to bring down that gap by any further. It was 1.4 seconds in the middle of the lap as Luigi now through to turn 1, gets the move done for 6th place. And that's at least one less thing for him to worry about. But the Aston Martin, of course, these two both genuinely fighting for position on track. Currently, are going to continue fighting as the Haas there has a bit of a moment going through turn number 3 there, as Burrito gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. So that's his first one of the night, and that gives Steve 9th place there Of course, Stee is trying to get himself into that top 10, and he's going to have another shot at it. Last week, of course, went from 13th to 9th, and he's going to be 9th again. So it's going to be, Stee is going from step to step, from strength to strength, as is John Liu as well, as is Kindle Zero, all going from strength to strength. Of course, there's been some very aggressive moves here tonight. I will say that for free, as now Jackie and Spindler are going to go side by side with one another. Jackie gets the move done, though, as it looks like Jackie was approaching the corner at Mach 3 there. Brief yellow flag for the Mercedes of, I think that was, is that Scambro there? Let's have a quick look. Yes, it is. Looks like he was just going slowly through that section of the track, so brief yellow flag waved, but no intervention required from virtual race control. Now, if we get onto the next lap without any crashes, which we are going to do, there will be no safety cars called out. So 3 laps to go, as now the Vins and Luigi do battle yet again. These two are taking our attention for the last few laps of this Grand Prix. Who is going to finish where? A Pam's battle with Saiju looks to be about over, to be honest with you. That gap increasing by nearly 3 seconds. There was a couple of few tenths knocked out about there, as now Luigi gets back through. Caution in Sector 3 again. That was short-lived, but otherwise we continue as we were. And now Stee is still trying to, well, he's probably hoping to make the move. Now, I just want to let you know, one of the rules here is that, you cannot serve, is that you cannot remove post-race penalties. So, for example, those 3 seconds cannot be removed by the stewards in any circumstance. So you've actually got to be a little bit careful on how you treat the track. Now, that car behind the Williams there is just a lapped vehicle. That looks to be John Liu Alex. It indeed is. So that's a Pam through. And then as soon as I was saying that that gap was increasing and that battle looked to be over, here we go again. It is back down to 1.7 seconds as now Jackie and the Racing Bulls of Ninja go side by side into turn 6. And somehow Jackie gets the better exit, of course, on 7 lap younger medium tyres there. So that's only common sense that he got that done on Jackie. But, sorry, got that done on Ninja, beg your pardon. But at the moment, it's, yeah, no, it looks like Jackie the faster of the few there, as now Steve there is going to be thinking about that in his rear view mirror. Here we go, though. He should just allow the Ferrari through. I don't think there is enough time for the Ferrari to make up there, but he pushes the kick salver through the corner. These two are sister teams in terms of their engines, by the way. Jackie with the over-under, a great move, actually. Not bad at all from the Ferrari, as the Haas there goes very wide on the exit. That's Marito, who, of course, has a penalty to serve post-race. Jackie with 6 seconds and Marito with 3. But does Marito allow the Ferrari through? No, it does not. Oh, bit of contact between the kick salver and the Ferrari there. And, well, the Haas will have just seen that and maybe just allow the Ferrari through. Remember, he cannot be allowed to get outside of that 3-second window for the Haas driver. And then for the kick salver driver of Stee, that is going to be a 6-second window. But look at how close a Pam is getting. He has probably saved it for a last lap charge here, as Luigi and the Vins are also going to do a battle on the last lap. And Foxy down in 8th. They're not even close to it. 3.2 seconds. Has got to hope for a mistake there. And he is the only driver to have been done by that bump there, which you can't really see on the track there. It's just on the exit there somewhere. You can see drivers trying to avoid it. But a Pam, I don't think it's going to be close. Well, hang on a minute. We have 2 laps to go. Sorry, I thought we were on the last lap there for a hot minute. But no, we're on lap 27 out of 28. But it looks like Saiju just has straight line speed for days. Despite a Pam having the DRS and the straight line speed, and the slipstream did nothing. Saiju just increased his gap. Incredible stuff there from the Ferrari. As now we do start the final lap. Well, for Saiju, this is going to be a victory that is oh so sweet. Last week, he was not happy with the driving standards. He had contact with several drivers around him in the few laps that he took part in back in Silverstone. But tonight, he has gone and made a statement to try and say, hey, if you want to try and do that with me again, you're going to have to actually beat me. And boy, has Saiju put in a performance. He's got a bit of pressure from a Pam behind. And well, there will be a certain guy who will be greeting him at the line. I will tell you his name in just a few moments' time, because he told me about it many, many months ago. So he can wait for that. But at the moment, Saiju is just going through the final few moments, but look, Pam is oh so close. Let's go on board with the Williams driver. Saiju gets that bit wrong, going into 11, then 12, but Pam goes wider, and that, I think, is it. Pam has lost himself the win of this race, so for the second week in a row, he won't be on the top step, but for all 5 rounds, he will be a top 3 driver. Pam with DRS, it will do absolutely nothing. Saiju now needs to make one of the most catastrophic mistakes, and I don't think that is going to be characteristic of the Ferrari driver. Saiju now is going to be a winner here in TF1 eSports. It may be an Italian league, but the Romanian wins in China, and that is Pam in second place. Kindle Zero will come home in third place, finishing ahead of Foxy, his teammate, and John Luca, who will come home fourth place. Luigi won't be fifth. He has just made a move on Umbi, but he won't stay there. Umbi will get that top 5 slot as well. Does he lose out anywhere else? Nope. But Foxy finally to the line. A miserable Grand Prix for the McLaren driver, as now in 9th place comes home Jackie. Is he ahead of Marita? He's actually done it. He's done it, as Steve now is battling with Ninja. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but Steve won't be happy. He will have 10th place. Steve there is going to finish where he qualified, but thanks to the post-race penalty of Marito, he will be 1 place above, and that is 10th place there, as now Ninja has come across the line. Spindler will be next, and then eventually we will have Chirolo and his teammate Gatoz. But at the moment, Gatoz and Kai in a battle for 15th place, which has been coming along. This isn't, remember, for any points, as Gatoz there tried to go on the softs till the end, but now he's looking like he's going to lose a position in the top 15. All 2 cars go to the right-hand side of the track. DRS opening for the Mercedes driver. Easy as you like, but wait, there's a puncture. There's a puncture for Gatoz on the front left-hand side of the car. He can't stop it. He avoids the Mercedes, but heartbreak for the Red Bull as his softs puncture on the final lap. And not only that, he goes into the gravel. But goodness me, what a dramatic end for the Red Bull. Puncture for him, as he will then eventually get to the end of this Grand Prix. At least he gets over the line ahead of John Lualix and Scambro, who both finish a lap down there. Heartbreak for Foxy, but joy of joys. 1 week couldn't finish due to having so much contact, but this week he's best of the rest, and I feel like he led just about every lap. Of course, well, it feels like it, but of course, thanks to pit stops, he didn't. But stayed ahead of Pam where he needed to, and just deployed his battery smartly. I would be very curious to know what his wing setup was. But otherwise, what a race that was from the reserve Tifosi driver. The Romanian comes across the line. Gigi Bacali sends his congrats. What a drive from the Ferrari. The podium celebrations begin. It is, of course, let's have a think now. Pam in second, and of course, who was it in third? It was Kindle Zero. There we go. So anyway, your race winner, we all know. Fastest lap went to the Vins. Driver of the day was Kindle Zero. Most overtakes Ninja, and cleanest driver was Steve. Now, your top 3, Saiju, Pam, and Kindle Zero, with 4th and 5th being John Lu and Umbi, 6th to 10th Luigi, the Vins, Foxy, Jackie, and Steve, 11th to 15th Marito, Ninja, Spindler, Chirolo, and Kai, with 16th, 17th, and 18th being Gatoz, John Lualix, and Scanbro. And with that, that concludes the halfway point of the season here in TF1 eSports. What a round that was. Heartbreak for Captain Foxy, but joy of joys for Saiju and Pam as well, increasing his lead in the championship through for another round. But of course, Kindle Zero and John Lualix benefiting from Foxy's bad race, and they will be ahead of him. So that means Foxy should be down to about... In fact, I would even say Umbi's even benefited. So Foxy will be down to 5th place once everything has concluded. I don't think... No, Steve wasn't far enough. No, Steve wasn't around Captain Foxy, so he will stay 6th for the time being, as Marito was also there around him as well. But otherwise, we are now on a 1-week break. So we'll be back for a race in Qatar at the Lusail circuit Austria then will be next, followed by Mexico City, Barcelona, and then, of course, the finale at Abu Dhabi at the Yas Marina circuit. Still lots to come here, but of course, 1 week break, and then we'll be back with you in 2 weeks on the 6th of November. And from everybody here at the TF1 Esports League, we all wish you a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. We want to say a final thank you to our sponsors, Roccio Ricardo, the bodybuilder there. Thank you for your generosity. Gled Creazioni, thank you as well for your generosity. And Meta Incisioni, thank you as well for your generosity. Wherever you may be in the world, we wish you all a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Stay safe, stay alive. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time in Qatar. Bye-bye for now.